A year ago, I lost $10,000 in a failed business deal. Everything I had built up until that point had collapsed. And in the silence that followed, I found myself staring in a mirror asking a question that I never expected to ask again in this point in my life. I returned to a city I had left behind years ago. A place where I once believed I knew exactly who I was and where I was going. The streets looked the same, but everything was different. The dreams I had carried when I left had been tested, many of which had been broken. Is a man defined by his strength, his courage, his ability to protect and provide? Or is this something quieter, his ability to stand when others fall? For thousands of years, societies forged men through ritual, trial, and expectation. And now those institutions lay in rotten ruin. If you question any of this, you're told you're toxic. If you ask these questions, you are mocked. And if you insist on learning, you are discarded, dismantled, and left in ruin. And so we become pariah. We are villainized. We are told we are broken. We are told the very idea of being a man is outdated, oppressive, and dangerous. If this is true, then why is it that they come to us when they need protectors, builders, and leaders? Nobody calls a soy boy for help. And so I ask the question once again. Look around. Young men failing in school, dropping out of the workforce, and drifting through life without clear purpose. We celebrate softness and shame raw ambition. They mock the provider, the protector, the man willing to carry the heavy burdens, and then act surprised when he's not around anymore. So I returned to that old city searching for answers. Not just for myself, but because I knew this wasn't only my crisis. It's a quiet epidemic that's been touching fathers, sons, and communities everywhere. Something vital has been missing from us. It's been gone for quite some time. Where did that masculine spirit of adventure go? And why did it leave? This is not a story about returning to the past. This is not just my story about loss and coming home. This is a story about remembering what we forgot. Discovering truly what a man is, could be, in our time. Some answers will comfort you. Some answers will challenge you. All of them matter. But the first thing that we need to talk about Okay, so what happened?
I was sleeping at the transit, the park across from the Metro Transit. Somebody stuck their hand in my pocket for my wallet. I grabbed my wallet. I started fighting back with them. One from behind me hit me in the head with a rock. Another one put a pistol on my face. My wife started screaming at him. And The next thing, I don't know, after I got hit in the head with a rock, it's just flashy, you know what I mean? Next thing I know is we were at the store and I was bleeding real bad, and then
Shit.
she ended up taking off over it. She went back to her mom's house and she said it ain't safe out here for her.
Now, you were saying shit changed since forever?
Since 23? Oh man, it's got a lot rougher. There's more people, more broke people, more homeless, you know what I mean? There's a whole
Yeah, that's the thing that I noticed. Like when I was down here 15 years ago, I can't remember a single homeless.
Yeah, you might see one or two on the street corner asking for money, but it's the times, bro. Everything's falling apart. You don't understand how easy it is to become like this. It's one paycheck away.
One paycheck away.
One paycheck away.
Oh, I understand. And so I returned, expecting to find the same city of my youth. The buildings leaned like tired old men with shattered dreams and broken hearts. And me? I was getting there myself. Bunch of dying plants, some alarm going off. All those shops are closed. It's basically just a collector's den, which I have no idea, some sports thing. Freestyle, not exactly sure. Hot Topic. Aeropostale. Everything else is closed down. Most of this place is just dead now. Here goes all the memories. What happened to this place? Everything about this place that I idealized was just that. An ideal. An ideal long gone. Was it ever as good as I remembered it? Or was it just the nostalgia goggles? Ideals, dreams. They call them dreams for a reason. Time to wake up. For most of the 20th century, men had a simple blueprint. You worked hard, you provided for your family, you kept your emotions in check. That was the deal, and for a while the world rewarded it. After World War II, American industry exploded. Factories ran in 3 shifts. A single paycheck from the plant or mill could buy a house, a car, put food on the table for the wife and 3 kids. The nuclear family became both a reality and a myth. Dad at work, mom at home, dinner at 6, church on Sunday. Men were measured by their paycheck, their physical strength, and how much of that ideal that they acquired themselves. That was the old order. That was the ideal. And for a few generations, it felt eternal. The one guiding truth that got people to get up and try to do something with themselves. We idealized it in every frame of television, every page of Life magazine. A strong, stoic provider wasn't just a man, he was a standard to live by. Boys grew up watching their fathers come home dirty, tired, and proud. And so that set the standard. Work hard, provide, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and go through all the tough things that need doing. Then the world changed. In the 1970s, oil shocks, automation, the global competition gutted the factories. Steel towns became rust towns. Entire regions lost their economic spine overnight. At the same moment, women entered the workforce in record numbers. Birth control, no-fault divorce, and shifting cultural winds rewrote the rules at home. Dual-income families became the norm, not by choice but by necessity. The single male breadwinner model collapsed, and suddenly the old definition of a real man no longer paid the bills, and at the same time, people still expected it. And so the world needed less strong men. The women had their own income, and what they couldn't provide themselves, the government would provide for them. And so men became obsolete, other than the purposes of breeding. Divorce rates over the years began to skyrocket, and now single-parent households are the norm. And that's why we idealize the past. The 1950s represented a time when none of this was an issue. In 69 BC, Julius Caesar stood in the Temple of Heracles at Gades. Before him loomed the statue of Alexander the Great. At just 33 years old, Caesar had already achieved so much, yet he wept. When asked why, he replied, "Alexander at my age had conquered the world. I have done nothing." Yet have a single one of you ever heard of an Alexander salad? Imagine having food named after you. It's the highest of honors. We idolize great men because they set a benchmark for what brings great times. The people are the ones that bring these times to us. Times are idolized as a benchmark for what we should strive to have. That's why you see great men with statues. Not everyone liked Lincoln, yet you see multiple statues of him all the time. The efforts of individuals cascade throughout history, and they become remembered, and they become myth and legend. And so they become aspirational. They become the things that mark eras. Nobody gave a shit about what kind of wine Julius Caesar loved. And nobody gave a shit about Abraham Lincoln's favorite sex position. What we care about is the end results of their actions. The way their deeds cascade throughout time. As the saying goes, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Look at these statues. How many of them are in disrepair and ruin?
And then to get back out of this situation, it takes a lot more than one paycheck. You know what I mean? If you get an apartment around here, you gotta have $5,000.
$5,000? It used to be cheap around here. What the fuck?
First and last month's rent deposit. You gotta have all the light deposits, water deposits, everything turned on before you can move in. So see what I mean? You got.
It used to be $1,500 to get a fucking apartment downtown. What the fuck?
Yeah, but then a month. But then when you move to come in, you gotta have the first and last. Then you gotta have the deposit. So that right there is, you know what I mean? That's like $35. $4,000 right there. And then you gotta do all your utilities.
Shit.
Yeah,
God damn.
It's rough out here. And then this metro system. Oh man, I've lost a couple jobs over it. They want to run once an hour, or they stop running at midnight. And some of them work nights. You know what I mean? It don't work.
Damn. Man, I came out here 14 years ago, almost 15 now, and just things were fun. Yeah, they did have its dark underbelly, but that's any city.
Now it's like the belly rolled over, right?
Oh yeah. What's your name?
Travis.
Well, thanks for the interview.
Yes, sir.
You have a good one, sir.
Yes, sir. You too.
I don't know what's going on with the man, but I hope he's doing well. I gave him a pack of cigarettes for the street interview. I wouldn't need it on the plane. And so the 70-year hard time cycle is coming full circle once again. The things we were told work no longer do. Was it the men that changed? Yeah, we did. Was it the women that changed? Yeah, they did too. But most importantly, as with all eras, the thing that changes the most are the times. In this world, there's a myriad of beliefs. The one belief that remains constant within all of them is that the old order, the way things were, is dead. I had a bro for over 20 years. 20 years is... that's a long time when you really think about it. So, what happened? I think it's best we start by describing him. Our parents worked together, same age, same grade, and we were neighbors, like literally a block and a half up the street. And so I made the trek to one of our old haunts, one of the places that we used to hang out a lot. The vegetation was overgrown, and the ground was muddy. I basically had to use my memory to get back here. It's been like 15 years since I came to this spot. But I made it, and here we are. It's a river, so it's always changing, just like life. But that log had been there for at least 15 years.
Freedom check-in. Freedom check-in.
I broke both my feet in basic, and to make me feel better, he decided, hey, you want to go blow something up? So he went down to this spot with railroad dynamite. I don't even know where he got it from. And, well, the dynamite was corroded, so it just turned into a giant flare. So, when we walked up to it, we heard a little bit of a pop, and we both screamed and we ran off, thinking we were both gonna die. To describe what it was like with me and him, both of us on our own, whenever we were separated, we would just, behave like normal. But the moment me and him got together, oh, the police were gonna get called. Things of that nature. Because of what happened between me and him, we knew the police department on a first-name basis. There's never anything too illegal, though. It's not like we were selling drugs. He was a gifted musician. Bro could play Metallica so well that if you played the concert while he was playing, you wouldn't be able to tell who was who. And that was many of our Saturday nights. I'd just go over to his house, he'd smoke weed, and he'd be sitting there playing Metallica while Metallica was playing in the background. I'd be playing video games or something, we'd just be sitting there bullshitting. So, what went wrong? Like many others, he was depressed. There was a night where a mutual friend of ours called me over to get the gun out of his hand. A mixture of life plus some girl. He was about to suck start his Remington. I pulled back the bolt on that gun, and he's got the name of the girl carved into a bullet. That was his final straw. Well, not quite yet. He still went on to live a couple more years. But typically you can tell when something's been broken. And things weren't the same after that. So what are we to do? How are we supposed to be strong in a world that hates us? According to the CDC, men make up nearly 80% of the suicides in the United States, despite making up half the population. 22 to 23 per 100,000, roughly 4 times higher than that of women. The prime age of men, ages 25 to 54, have been seeing declining labor force participation over the decades. Many cite obsolete skills, health issues, and lack of direction. Joblessness isn't just financial, it's a blow to identity. For generations, men's sense of worth was tied to providing and achieving. When that slips away, isolation deepens, mental health erodes. My friend didn't get on the drugs till after he lost his job. My friend had some demons. He opened his home to anyone who would need it. Eventually this led to the wrong people taking advantage of him. The wrong people had lots of drugs. In time he sold his instruments to buy more crystal and other sort of things. You know that saying, you are the sum of the 5 people you're around the most? Well, I wasn't there. These other people came in and made his life a living hell. And he was depressed, constantly. When I would see him, he would talk to me, and he was just never doing well. And then one night, he shows up at my house at 2 in the morning, saying one of the girls that lived with him was trying to kill him. I just thought he was high. I told him we'd go to the police station together, and he didn't want to. I'm gonna guess it's because there's paraphernalia in the house. He'd also been dealing with sepsis and other things that I was unaware of at the time. And I figure, through this chain of events, I was the last person to see him alive. And then the snow thawed, and we found him. This is where they found him. 3 months later, face down in the mud, and torn apart by animals. My guess is he didn't want to be a burden to anyone, so he just walked over here, fell over in the ditch, and just checked out. I don't know if it was the cold, of the sepsis, or a drug overdose. We don't know. We couldn't tell. He was that far gone degraded. He was literally less than 100 feet from another house, a friend's house no less. And his house was literally a whole 2 blocks up. And this is what's going to happen to us if we don't actually sit there and think about how our lives are going and we think about how to deal with these problems. I've lost count of the amount of dudes I've talked to who told me that they thought about transitioning just because they thought their lives would be easier as a woman. And it's not getting better for anyone. I see these problems getting worse every day, and no one is coming to save you. As a man, you are born to suffer. You will be made to suffer, and suffer you shall. You will be beaten, broken, cast aside, and destroyed. So you must take that pain and make it useful. But what about the women?
It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair.
It's not fair.
I think we've all had this moment, waiting for a text that never comes, wondering what you did wrong, why you didn't measure up. Things were great and now everything's just gone. Those pure moments seared into your memory, the thoughts of what could have been. Now, dust before the wind. Did you waste her time, or does she waste yours? I'm going to begin this by talking about the incels.
Hey, Elliot Roger here.
I want you to imagine a world where the sight of seeing women happy with men makes you angry. Imagine a world where seeing other people in relationships being happy ignites homicidal thoughts. Imagine a world where jealousy gets rewarded by turning you into an online hero after you murder several people in cold blood. Even worse, imagine watching other people spiral because of you. And so a new dark cycle of jealousy and hatred infects the population. What are we to do?
Supreme gentleman.
The madness speaks for itself. He somehow got it into his head that he was entitled to pussy. In 2014, a 22-year-old named Elliot Roger killed 6 people and wounded 14 in Isla Vista. Before his rampage, he posted the manifesto that you just got to watch. And guess what? He's not even the only one who wishes to do such things. Elliot Roger became a hero to the incel community, or at least its darker side. And so you have to ask the question, what happens when you have a bunch of fighting-age men who feel worthless, who feel like they have no skin in the game, like there's no reason to even start dating or even talking to women? What you get is a lot of men who wish to murder. In 2017, Reddit banned r/incels for glorifying violence. The community simply migrated to incel-based websites and dozens of private discords. Membership exploded because now there was no incentive to keep them polite. Male virginity rates 18 to 24 rose from 8% in 2008 to 28% in 2024. Loneliness has become a subculture. Loneliness has become a powder keg. And next, we have the men going their own way. MGTOW. You have the men that can't talk to women, and then you have the men that are sick of dealing with women altogether. Some were incels, some were men who just got burned while dating, some were just men who got destroyed in divorce. The term MGTOW, men going their own way, first appeared in the early 2000s. A blog called No Man published one of the earliest manifestos in 2001. It was a reaction to what these men saw as a gynocentric society, one tilted toward women through the family courts, divorce laws, cultural expectations shaped by decades of feminism. And from this, declining marriage rates overall, especially among young men, higher male suicide rates, loneliness epidemic, the disengagement from traditional paths. 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Men don't want to lose their things in divorce. Child custody and child support, roughly 80% of custodial parents are the mothers. 90% of child support payers are men. Only 17% of custodial fathers receive support versus a much higher for mothers. Alimony, financial ruin, family courts exhibiting a systematic bias. It goes on. Can we blame men for wanting to exit women altogether? Dating apps for the average man does not yield good results. There's an adage about 80% of the women chasing the top 20% of men. So where does this come from? When you're looking at an app, a dating app, all you see are photos of people and the things that they have. So you don't get to see anything about the person's personality, how they're going to treat you, what they're going to do. Most men don't realize this, and that's why most men fail at dating online through apps. And so it's considered to be a waste of time and dignity. And dating apps have been called a modern-day humiliation ritual. But women typically have a better time on dating apps than men. Dating apps are 60 to 90% men in many markets. In terms of options, women have the pick of the litter. And so this has led to a lot of inflated egos. This leads to plenty of women thinking they should get that top 20% of men. And this has led to disastrous consequences for them too. Because that top 20%, they're usually looking for a smash and dash. Men on these dating apps typically get used for free food or ignored altogether. Women just get used as meat. And so this leads to what I call the circle jerk of fuckery. Shitty men turn good girls into shitty women. Shitty women turn good guys into shitty men. And it repeats continuously. I know, because I was part of this for 13 years. I spent 13 years in the pickup artist community, and that's time I'm never getting back. But at least I can say I was honest about everything that I was after. I never had to lie to get laid. I once met a girl. She was fun, beautiful, had a lust for life. Didn't matter that she was a single mom, me and the baby daddy got along incredibly well. It was like a dream come true. But you know what they say about dreams? There's a reason why they call it a dream. Time to wake up. We hung out in bars, got to know her a little bit there. Got to see just how fun she really was. Of course, the problems came then, afterwards. She moved in, and I worked. She continued to party. And she couldn't keep a job for more than 2 months. Yet, she could pay the bar tab. I would come home and find the apartment smell like weed and alcohol. And she stopped cleaning up her messes over time. This led to arguments. Of course, things escalated even further. She'd get mad at me because I'd go to work rather than go to the bar. She'd tell me I can call in, I'd tell her I'm the only one making money. She once accused me of cheating and told me that if I didn't give her my phone, she'd tell the bouncer at the bar that I hit her. She chucked a chair at me from the top of the stairway to our apartment. I still have the scars from the other things she's done to me. All while I paid for her and her kid. So why stay? She became pregnant. We even had the blood test to prove it. And so right when I was about to leave, I gave it another shot. That was the wrong decision. You figure she'd change her behavior, right? Nope. Still drank and smoked. Still wanted me to clean up after her messes. And like a fool, I thought I could fix things. I thought I could help her. And when I realized I was wrong, this happened. Once again, we had the blood work to prove she was. And once again, nothing changed. The cycle continued. When she miscarried a second time, I removed her from my home. I didn't even know if I was the dad. Either time. But that's not even the worst part. And the worst part is wondering if she did this on purpose. She continued to drink and smoke just so she would miscarry, so she can continue to party and play. It's been years, and it still haunts me. She continued to drink, she continued to smoke, she continued to make life a living hell. She got mad at me one night and tore up the photo of our ultrasound. She did that because I didn't want to go to the bar after she miscarried a second time. And because she didn't want to stop partying and drinking, I got rid of her. Not all women are evil, but to terminate your own children and beg to come back, nothing good can come from that. I gave her a home, she gave me pain, and my story isn't really all that unique. I hear stories like this on a daily basis from other men, and I learned an important lesson. Don't be the hero. It's not your job to save her, or anyone for that matter. I vowed never to let that happen to myself ever again. My story isn't even unique. I've heard far worse from better men. So why did I pick Indianapolis of all places? I wanted to get back to the root of who I was. I had just got out of a relationship and wanted to refocus my life, and I figured coming here would help me put things into perspective. And so, I began thinking about what led to this particular state of my life and how things are actually going. What is it that is making my life what it is currently? I just got out of a relationship with another girl. Bought a ring for her and everything. Turns out, she was cheating on her boyfriend with me. Her boyfriend was some socialist from California. She didn't show her toxic side till after we split. Even worse, she still wanted to talk. But this had me asking some other questions. It was here in Indianapolis that I was introduced to the book The Game by Neil Strauss. I got invested in the pickup artist community. I'd failed precisely 69 times before I was successful. Fucked right there in the Barnes & Noble that used to be right next to the Circle Center Mall. For the longest time I had this issue where I could get laid really easy. However, keeping a girlfriend was hard. I don't have that problem anymore, but I did write a book on how to fix that. Let me be petty for a moment. This bar wouldn't let me in because they thought I was not who I was on the ID. I'm sorry I look young for my age, but fuck you guys. And so I walked around looking at all the monuments and things that I remembered. Found the city had changed quite a bit. I used to rarely ever see homeless hanging around. Yet now, they basically choke the parks. I didn't film any of them because that would have been rude. So what actually got me into pickup? Once again, it was a breakup. I had a girl that I was dating when I was at Job Corps, Atterbury, and whenever I was off in the city doing something on the weekend, she decided she was going to cheat on me by sucking some guy's dick at the Job Corps Theater. All for $20 she didn't even get. And when I asked her about it, she said it's because she didn't think that I actually loved her and that I was actually going to do all that. It really shows this thing with a lot of women where they think that you don't love them the way that you do, and their response is to cheat on you. So even though this documentary is about men, it's not just men who have issues, women have a lot of work they need to do too. And these aren't my words, though they ring true to me. These are actually the words of another guy that was actually mentioned in the book, The Game by Neil Strauss, a guy by the name of Zan Perrion.
I feel like not putting up these rental scooters, I mean just leaving them on their side like that, is about as much of an equivalent as you can get to the whole not putting the shopping cart back argument.
Years later, I wrote my own book, Game in a Day. It was more or less talking about how men interact with women, but it was disguised as a pickup book. I wonder how that affected my sales. There were dozens of street performers out, yet this one caught my attention. Decent guy, came from some tropical country I can't even remember. Can't remember if he said Senegal or Carousel. It was literally the same 5 or 6 beats, yet he did it with passion. And to add to it, he was literally out there from about 7 o'clock in the evening till 2 in the morning. We talked. He'd work construction during the day, and at night he'd come out and just sit on a corner and play. He didn't get much money from that, but he enjoyed what he did, and that set him apart from other men. And you'll see this too. People will stop, and they'll admire his music, even though it's just something simple. He's just playing drums with buckets. Yet, it set him apart.
I got the good camera out now.
What's up? I like that short, bro. I like that short. I like that short.
He really liked my shirt too. I offered to give it to him after the trip, but he said no. So I wound up buying him a Coca-Cola and his pack of cigarettes. You know that meme about digging holes at the beach? Well, the drums brought the rappers out.
Can I rock with you? Can I rock with you? Can I rock with you? Listen. I'm just trying to keep my head up. Best foot forward, these niggas still got a leg up. That's the competition, get the makings of a star. We're sitting lower down the gas, and for me to raise the bar. Gonna work twice as hard just to get at the spot. Just fucking with my mental, speak to me gentle. A man once told me I got about the potential. What's it taking me to break? I really wish it was simple. Played by the nightmares, the demons in the right hand. That's the city wrong turn, get back into the right hand. Minutes in society, find a piece in the irony. Feeling good for work of any motherfucker variety. Turn the beat up. Turn the beat up. Turn the beat up. Turn the beat up. Look, listen. One more. I think about the concepts of creation. Till I feel limited by my own imagination. My mind goes far, but only have too many words. I leave them on the table, all my feelings can be heard. Pick up the flex and I gotta find a new inline. Meant to do my thing, I got some different genre flowers. The line between love and hate, break up and hate. Being like Virginia Slims, escape to my escape. But wait, for the rest of the world to make me happy. The signal to my mental got me feeling that it's static. This right for at the cabin, I catch my work with the stay cheering with right minds, and hit the right mind, left and right, with broke down to the right time. See you in the nighttime, within the summer season, what's the reason? Hey! You ready? You ready? I'm going on. Oh, okay. Oh! Yeah. I'm back for Nation, don't fuck with it, yeah. NBC, all the way to the south side, nigga. Yeah, you wanna see me in a fucking in the south side, though. Yeah, I don't fuck with it, you though. Yeah, fuck with you, though. That's good, that's good. I got it. One more.
Let's get one more. Let's get one more.
Hell yeah. I got something for you.
Oh, he got something for you.
Bro, I really like that shot, man. Nah, look at him. Look at him. Like, come on, man.
No, man.
What's the love?
You get down, man. I loved
Give
it.
me the fucking love, bro. What the fuck?
Awesome, man.
Give me some love, man.
Bringing all these people.
Bro, that's what we do. This is about all I got, but it's all you, bro. It's about it. Come on, man. It's about all I got. Really.
Here you go, brother. Hey,
this is
I was
what
gonna
you
give
got.
it to you, but I don't know if you.
This is what you got. Like, you know what I'm saying? What you got. I should have paid you. No. I should have paid you for what you do right now. You're all good, bro. You're good. What? What you do, bro? Yeah. Bro, come on, man, bro. We can. I got you. Oh, okay. You saw me. You see me alive, probably. Probably. Yeah. Bro, we need that, bro. We need that. Absolutely. I'm going to come with that energy every time. I got you. I need that energy. Yeah? Every time, man. You have a good night, bro. Let's go, baby. One love, baby. One love. One love, baby. Dang! Woo!
At this point in the night, I was tipsy. By the end of the night, I was drunk off my balls. An hour after this moment, that's when all the women going to the clubs came out. And my dumbass had the cameras already locked up in the hotel room. Lots of women stopped and talked to the guy and gave him money. Think about that for 5 minutes. He had women coming up to him, handing him money, and he could have talked their ears off. He could have got their numbers. But he was too busy playing his drum buckets. In a later conversation I had with the guy, he has gotten a few numbers. But I think the thing that sets him apart the most is he has this thing that a lot of men, especially the incel crowd, lack. And it's a lust for life. Women love that shit. And that's what most of you lack. I talk to men all the time who gauge their worth by their value to women. There's this stupid idea among a lot of men that if I just got a girlfriend, oh, my life would be simple. I can, finally go out and do those things that I need to do. Yet I can't think of any woman who likes a sad, sloppy, weepy-faced man. It's ridiculous. I always hear these guys complain, oh, no girl's gonna want me because I'm too short. No girl's gonna want me because I'm broke. No girl's gonna want me because of this reason, that reason. Well, of course no girl's gonna want you. You're sitting there bitching about your fucking problems like you've got a pussy. So to describe this, let me begin with my favorite quote from Steve the Dean Williams. If your pussy is tighter than hers, damn right she's gonna treat you like a bitch. The biggest issue I see with men is too many men idealize women. These idealizations come from stupid things in the media, whether it be Disney, anime, Instagram influencer girls that aren't really all that funny in the first place, or even worse when chicks tell you to just be a nice guy, when obviously that doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work for two reasons. One, because they can smell if you're just being nice to get laid, and that's fucking disgusting to begin with. And two, because you are being subservient to her in the hopes of getting her approval. And that never works, and even if it did, she wouldn't respect you. But why would she respect you? You don't even respect yourself, do you? Take 5 minutes and look at the incel crowd. Do any of these motherfuckers actually look like they have any self-respect at all? Are you showing any self-respect when you're sitting there being weepy-faced because you can't get laid? Are you really showing respect for yourself when you're sitting there bitching about women? A thing that I've learned throughout the years, no man bitches about women if they're getting pussy. Hell, even if you're not getting pussy, why the fuck are you bitching about women in the first place? What bearing do they have as to the success of your life? Hold yourself to a higher standard. Before you even think about women, you should be thinking about building something for yourself. What about getting that $1 million job? What about that amazing business idea that you've always had? Having the drive to do something amazing does more to make women wet than any pickup artist line will ever give you. You should seek ambition, not pussy. And what about those guys who let their women roll over them? Your life becomes a living hell because you let this woman just treat you like absolute ass all the time? Or maybe she forced you into an open relationship. Or maybe, like in my case, she threatens to lie and say that you beat her if you don't do what she says. You're literally a man. Why are you tolerating that? You don't have to beat women to get the point across. You can tell them you're not going to deal with it. If they don't want to treat you well, tell them to kick rocks and get fucking lost. Women are plentiful. Getting hung up over one, in that case of one eye, just makes you look weak. Women are literally 50% of the population. Why the fuck are you complaining because one said no? She has every right to say no. You have every right to not give a shit. So at the end of the day, the best way to treat women is complementary to your life. And the whole of your life. You don't require women to survive. So take that ambition and do something positive with it. The women will eventually come. You know, whenever you film something, there's a lot of content that gets left on the cutting room floor. I was filming in a public space. It actually had some meaning to me, because I had another friend who I had to stop from self-termination. Instead, what winds up happening is I have two acquaintances of mine show up, and they ruined the entire shot, but it pointed out something else that was important to me. So as I'm filming this angle that I would have deleted anyways, because, I mean, oh my god, look at this. I hear the sound of roaring trucks.
Look at these two assholes. Why are you doing this?
I don't know. You said you wanted to do it, or you wanted to record it.
Partly because I knew you'd do it. You know what? I want to see where this goes. Keep going. Keep going. What the fuck just happened? What the fuck did you guys do?
My trailer hitch went into his thing.
Where did it go?
My baby dog eye.
Where did it go?
Right in here and hit this piece of metal.
Okay. Just this piece of metal here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shy.
Nothing's broke.
Oh no, that's a double loop.
The aforementioned trailer hitch. Do that again.
I ain't doing it again.
Not that.
Not that.
Just a couple of bros being absurdly autistic, having fun.
You abuse the shit out of this vehicle. I'm surprised it looks as good as it does.
It's my baby.
It's your baby and you beat the shit out of it. I hope you treat your women better than you treat your vehicles.
Come here and look at this.
Oh god, what did you
Shotty
do?
still hits 120 perfectly fine.
When you see it, you're gonna
What
shit.
am I looking at? The lack of tread.
No.
Oh.
Great tread. The lack of rim.
The lack of rim. That thing's gonna pop and you're gonna die.
I've hit 120 in it already.
Worst part is I believe him. He would do
You're
some
nuts.
stupid shit like this.
She okay. And
Yeah,
then
okay.
And then
I mean, just like right here,
okay.
you add a little bit of like, what the fuck is it called again?
Okay.
Like color correction, makes it look awesome.
Oh wait, hold on.
It was nice seeing you, Mark.
They were taking all sorts of photos on this cheap Chinese scamera.
Oh, did that come with it?
Oh yeah, it's a whole set, bro.
It's a whole set.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's a nice camera.
Yeah, I should show you my set. This little itty bitty thing, one of the best mics you can get. But you shove it in the hot shoe. Now, if you want to use it for phones and shit like that,
I wound
you
up
got a couple
teaching him a
things that
little
you
bit
can
about
shove up
camera
in it,
work.
in there.
It's amazing how when I started this documentary about a year ago, I had freshly bought a camera that I didn't know how to use, and now I'm sitting here teaching guys how to actually do stuff. It's interesting how things change. So what was the point of me showing you any of that? I worked in a Casey's kitchen and got to know the two of those guys quite well. And those two are bros. They'd known each other for forever. really long time. Not exactly sure how long, either. It's about like what I had with my best bro, who's no longer with us. That's a thing that a lot of us are missing in our lives now. Bros. A group of bros. Friends. A group of men that we pit ourselves against and help each other grow to be better. That's an overlooked piece whenever it comes to the male loneliness epidemic. Your bros, your best friends. You see dudes nowadays, most of their best friends are guys they met online and play Helldivers with. Well, we don't have in-person friends anymore, and it's sad to see. It's not unheard of, but I mean, it's not really common anymore now, is it? By the time you're 30, a good amount of your friends are gone doing whatever, and you're just alone. You work the grind at the job, and then that's it. You come home to your wife and the kids, and you don't have anybody that pits you to be better. You don't have that group of friends, that group of bros. And we can blame many things for this. We can blame society. We can blame just the way how the workplace grind has changed things. And one thing's for certain, a lot of us just don't seem to have these in-person friends anymore. It's just, it's gone. I remember my old tribe, my old group of friends. I remember how they disappeared. They're dead. You already know about the friend featured from earlier. I had another friend die in the McDonald's parking lot from an overdose. I had another friend that I had for 7 years. He died of an overdose too. I saw that guy sober twice. I had another friend die in a car accident. And I had another friend who liked to talk shit on the cartels. When he went back to Chicago, well, do the cartel math. I hadn't heard from that guy in about 13 years. Slim chance he's still alive, but most of us who knew him, tried to keep in contact with him, he just fell off the earth. But the good news is that a lot of men are now aware of these problems, and so they're seeking bonds with other bros. They're forming collectives, they're meeting people and starting online internet communities. This loneliness epidemic from this end, where the bros don't have bros, it's ending. It's my absolute favorite trend. Men joining groups to be better men. And I suggest anyone join these. You just have to vet the ones you join. I'm not gonna lie and say that there aren't a lot of these collectives that are there just for certain individuals to make money. You know who I'm talking about. But all of this begins with the self. I'm not going to pretend that I'm perfect. I'm far from it. But I know there's plenty of work I need to do on myself. And that's literally where everything begins, work on the self. The things you do cascade outward into the ether that is society. And there's that stupid-ass cliche, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, guess what? Everything starts with you. It's not a cliche. It's a fact of life. At the end of the day, there's no one to blame but you. So start working on yourself, then find some bros, and get to work. There's much to be done. So how do we start with you? Let's start by talking about strength. Strength equals power. And strength is a means to act upon the world. First, we're going to start with hard power. What is hard power exactly? When you think about hard power, I want you to imagine a man that is 7.5 foot tall, super muscular, can rip you in half literally. He has physical hard power that he can use against the mass majority of individuals. If we were to contrast this with a nation state, I want you to look at militaries. Take two armies, both of them have 500,000 soldiers, but one has better armor, gear, and training. Which one has more hard power? Now let's talk about soft power. When it comes to soft power, let's talk about charismatic individuals. I will use Jesus Christ, a easily relatable figure. Through his words, he was able to convince whores, thieves, murderers, bandits, all of these types of individuals, to give up their horrible lives and start living for God. Through his charisma, he got people to abandon their old ways of being and become good. Soft power is essentially culture. If a man behaves in a way that is deemed beta and weak, shaming him is considered to be a form of soft power. Whereas if he was to get mad and turn around and punch you in the face, that is hard power. Hard power is kinetic. Hard power is using a weapon, whereas soft power is the determination of what means are you allowed to utilize such a weapon. And it is best that you cultivate both to the best of your abilities. Read a good book. Learn to lift weights. Exercise is proven to be good for you not just physically, but mentally as well. There's a reason why so many people say it helps cure depression to go out and lift. It's good for you. There are plenty of studies that show that people who exercise have better cognitive function than guys who don't. And there are plenty of exercise you can do without even having a gym membership, so you have no excuse. Exercise is a small but honest start to getting more hard and soft power all in one. But what about goals? What about the things you actually want out of life? There seems to be this interesting trend where a lot of men simply do not know what they want. They simply drift from one thing to another. They don't have any more ambition than what they currently have. They'll complain about a lack of money, yet they won't do much to actually get more of it. You'll see men complain about women online, yet they won't do anything to rectify the mistakes that they made that led to those conclusions in the first place. You will see a lot of excuses for no fucking reason. But if I was to break down why that is, if you really think about it, it's fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of what happens if I step out of line. There's a lot of men who simply live for nothing. And they're unhappy as a result of it. So ask yourself this question. Are you actually happy with your life? Is this the end? And what would you do to change that? Last year, I lost 10 grand in a business deal. Yeah, now we're gonna talk about it. There was a guy who entered certain circles that I was in. Had this story about how his daughter was systematically alienated from him. The guy claimed to make a lot of money, said he used to be a CEO. There was a lot of things there. Yet at that time, he was jobless living with his girlfriend. Can't remember what his reasoning was. We had some similar situations and we bonded over things. And over the course of about a year, I found out he wasn't exactly who he said he was. It wasn't just me. There was also another guy who was involved with some heavy Hollywood film things. There was also a former IBM programmer who was working on the website. This was supposed to be great. We were to create a media website called Alienation TV. It was going to be about alienated parents, detransitioners, things of the like. Everything in the culture war was supposed to be here because we've been alienated from it. However, as things got a little bit closer to time to launch, among other things, cracks began to show. In fact, this documentary, this film, this expose, whatever you would call it, it was supposed to premiere on that website. This is literally B-roll from one of those projects. I spent 10 grand on cameras, equipment, even a motorcycle, only for everything to fall apart immediately afterward. Don't worry, you'll make the money back, he said. Turns out, it was a special kind of grift. He was literally contacting every celebrity and anyone with any influence he could to try and get funding, and then other people started looking into him. We were set to film an expose on detransitioners. Had some famous ones listed too. But then a week before filming, things kind of fell apart. The programmer left, and then the photographer left about 2 days later. We started looking into his story and his court cases, and it turns out he wasn't exactly who he said he was. So when I asked him about it, he decided to have a meeting with everyone involved. All I needed was an easy explanation. But what winds up happening? Me getting grilled for 2 hours because I wanted to know why we hadn't done certain things. Why wasn't the business registered? We didn't even have a bank account. I hadn't even been paid at all during this time. And none of us cared about that because it was a startup and we all believed in what we were trying to do, only to find out it was all a lie. This man embedded himself into plenty of different groups, claiming to be one of them, and then he used that. For what means? One can only speculate. When the programmer arrived, his girlfriend kicked him out, accusing him of being gay. I talked to the programmer, got his side of the story of things that went on. For some reason, he was avoiding opening up the bank account. Wanted the programmer to do it instead. Allegedly, there was a lot of drugs involved in this experience too. One of which was the programmer woke up with him next to him in the bed. Allegedly. Word traveled at these experiences and people started looking into them. I changed my flights to Indianapolis. While I was filming out there for this project, I got news of certain other things that happened. Some people let him stay with them, believing his story. Allegedly, he got high on something and thought that there was a hostage situation in the house that he was staying at. He started punching out windows and, well, the end result was this black eye and him being homeless. He went to court not long ago. I hope he rots in prison. Fuck you, Brent Bowlby. So what does this have to do with the overarching narrative of what I'm talking about in this film? One of the biggest issues I see when it comes to men is they are influenced by the wrong people. Jack Donovan had a saying, if you don't talk about the things that need talked about, other people who you don't want talking about them are going to talk about it. And for the longest time, the only people who ever talked about masculinity was a bunch of feminists. If you brought it up in conversation, people would question, is something wrong with you? But the only people who were talking about it were the feminists. Which is insulting to me because masculinity is not for women to define. And now we have shitty influencers doing the job, making it that much worse. Usually to sell a course for free. And the end result is very much like this old house. Everything just gets left in ruin. And you can't just go back either. I can't snap my fingers and this house be as awesome as it was 100 years ago. Like I said before, the old era is dead. It's never coming back. So we have to think about the things that influence us in the present and move forward towards that. But I think the worst problem is a lot of people think they're moving forward following certain individuals, when really those people are going to set them back. I knew a couple guys who got into one of those universities, if you know what I'm talking about. Join my special collective. And what winds up happening? They spent $500 a month learning how to dropship, among other internet scams that turned out to not really be anywhere near as profitable as they'd think. I can't think of a single individual who actually made any money off dropshipping. Join my secret insider group. In the dating section of one of these sites, they told you to rent a supercar of some sort, something that looks super expensive, and to come up with a bullshit story of how you made all that money. Wear the Gucci bags, drive the Lamborghini. It's the only way you can work past hypergamy. 90% of what you hear about when it comes to hypergamy is fucking bullshit to begin with. Where's the proof? I'm the proof. I'm broke as fuck. I'm 5'5", yet I've slept with over 200 women, which is actually a low number compared to most pickup artists. Thanks to a fucking nerd who goes by the name of Mystery, a lot of guys, they make their aim to be 1,000 women. I feel like knowing you can get laid is a bit more important, because at the end of the day, as Zan Perion once said, women like to be seen, men like to know that they're worthy. And that's the thing when you get told no. You don't feel like you're worthy. And so you'll have the incels just give up because they feel like their genetics alone is enough to keep them from being worthy. And then you'll have men who raise families, and the families don't respect them, so they fuck off and leave. One of the biggest measurements of whether or not you are good at being a man is how does your family actually treat you. And usually they'll treat you like ass if you're not good at anything. Another measurement of how good you are at being a man is how good are you at the thing that you like to do. Think back to primal days. If someone's a bad hunter, do you think that they're going to be respected amongst the men? And if they don't have the respect of the men, do you really think the women are going to respect them either? Of course, you could also be bad at hunting but incredibly good at fighting, and that can translate into the same amount of worth that you have as a man amongst that group of people. And oftentimes nowadays it gets distilled into something that's complete and utter bullshit. Be the richest fucking town, make millions on stocks. And let's be honest, for 5 seconds, not everyone wants to do that sort of thing. And in this day and age, anyone can start a YouTube channel. Anyone can start a Twitter account. Anyone can start an Instagram. And oftentimes you'll have certain personalities tell you you should do this thing, that thing. This will get you status. This will get you worthy of getting laid. This will get you the respect of the other men. And so this leads to other problems, that being elite overproduction. Everyone wants to be a fucking elite. And yet rarely ever do they do anything that's actually elite worthy. I feel like we've all had the moment where we've been doom scrolling on YouTube, Twitter, whatever, and you find a bunch of inexhaustible noise. People who just want to blame the Jews, blame the blacks, blame the Mexicans, blame whoever, blame women being one of the biggest ones out there. And so a great deal many of us, we are influenced by the noise. Let's go back to the influencers for a moment. Did any of us ever think that maybe these shitty influencers that we see are able to garner as much power as they do because every once in a while they're fucking right? And they'll say one or two things that speak to your emotions. And that's how they convince you to pay $500 a month to become the next elite alpha male. And so they'll offer you classes that offer no real substance. And in the end, you'll just become a failed clone of them. Then you have the people who will listen to the words of others who mean well, but at the end of the day, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Every man who I've ever heard say the words happy wife, happy life, neither him nor his wife was happy. And a good amount of the times, their wives were cheating on them. Every single time I've ever listened to my family about anything, whatever it was I listened to them about, it went to complete and utter shit. My family, every single time, they meant well. But their advice was very far off from being correct. And so, that led me astray. And this has led me to a conclusion. You do not follow people, you follow ideals. Oftentimes, whenever you see somebody talking about things on the internet, oh, women were horrible to me, black people this, the Jews that, it's because they're dealing with some issues. Unresolved things that they don't exactly know how to handle. And so, they may inadvertently lead you astray. Sometimes on purpose they'll lead you astray. I mean, let's be honest here. We've all heard of influencers trying to sell you on some crypto shitcoin that wind up losing all of its value within 24 hours of it coming out. If you want to make your way in the world, follow ideals, not people. Find something that you're good at and work on it. The things I'm currently working on, I'm learning how to master photography, storytelling. I have another project lined up after this one. However, I need funding for it. In order for me to master these things, I also need to master my wallet. And at the time of filming, I'm negative $10,000. Unlike most people who get around and talk about social issues, I'm not going to show you a mansion and claim it can be yours if you just buy my course. I've also wrote 2 books. Game in a Day, which was about the interactions between men and women, of Evil Men Volume 1, which is going to be a series where I talk about evil people that all have something in common. The first one is about totalitarians. The next book I'm going to write is about governments. With the advent of the internet, power is available to everyone. Self-publishing books, getting your message that you want to speak out there. There's a reason why we have elite overproduction. You don't have to license yourself to talk on the internet. The issue is separating yourself from the noise, taking that which is of value and separating it from that which is not of value. We idealize greatness, yet so many of us don't exactly know how to get there ourselves. We idealize time periods because that was when we think things were better. We idealize people because they are examples of what we want to be. Take, for example, the story of Heracles. If you really break it down, it is the story of a man who suffered every day until the day he died. And he kept at it. He kept working hard to fulfill his labors. And that's why we idolize him. He worked hard. He had willpower. He had strength, his means to act upon the world, to become worthy of walking amongst the gods. And if you really break it down, that's the story of every man. They simply wish to know that they are worthy. Psychologists like Carl Jung saw the dragon as an archetype of the unconscious. The shadow self, repressed fears, primal instincts, or the chaos that threatens to swallow our ego and potential. Slaying it isn't destruction for its own sake, it's integration. Facing what lurks in the dark corners of your mind so you can grow. Dragons embody the predatory unknown and chaos. Deny them and they grow until they devour your house. Name them, confront them in their lair, and you restore order. Self-doubt, addiction, toxic relationships, dead-end jobs that destroy your spirit. That comfort zone you like to hide in. These are all dragons. We confront dragons daily. We can't escape them. We can, however, slay them. The act of slaying a dragon is the act of mastering yourself, lest you be destroyed.
Last meal in Indy. A C4 Jolly Rancher and Newport cigarettes. The guy in the Uber gave this to me.
I left Indy with more questions than answers. How could society fall so much? Or maybe I just had this idealized version of what I thought this city was to me. 14 years is a long time. And now, 15 years. It took me too long to make this. Last time I was at the Steak and Shake, I came in there and paid with nothing but coins. I had a bloody nose and a black eye. Not telling that story, I'm not past the statutes of limitations. Allegedly. So much of the life has just been gone. Drained from the times. Yet I wouldn't say it wasn't worth it. I met plenty of interesting people. Had a lot of thoughts to mull over. I also got a 15-year late reality check. This place, 15 years ago, would have just been full of people. I used to meet women at the food court, and sometimes by the Hot Topic. Nowadays, most people do their shopping online. That really removes the ability for people to meet other individuals. And the way the times are going, we're less connected with one another. That, to me, is the great sin of this era. Everywhere I looked, the monuments, the buildings, the art was all in disrepair. Looking back, it feels like it was an allegory for me. Part of the reason why I left this place was because I was getting into a lot of trouble. And for 15 years, I have nothing to show for it. I could trace a lot of my mistakes to here. Incorrect mindsets, incorrect attitudes, my addiction to sex, I can trace that all here. I came back to confront these things. I wanted to reclaim that spirit that I had. To remember who I was meant to be. Universally, in tribal societies, there was always a ritual that turned boys to men. Nowadays, the ritual is basically just getting laid. First time you get laid, yeah, you're a man now. I used to DoorDash, and I visited every type of neighborhood known to man. Rich neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, middle class in-betweens, country houses. Another ridiculous thing that you hear that says, this will make a man out of you. Have kids. I've seen too many weak, sloven, low testosterone, just weak, poor examples of masculinity in individuals claiming that will make you a man. Then you have the male feminist crowd. These are the guys that say, in order to be a man, you have to respect women. And though I agree with that statement, these are the same guys who think it's respectful to women to let them cheat on you, to let them disrespect you by going out and having dates with other men. The ex that I mentioned earlier, yeah, she tried that with me. And when I told her to get out, she came back 2 days later crying, saying, no, I'm sorry for asking that. And like a fool, I took her back. I think the vast majority of men these days are missing something. And a big part of that is the ability to say no. Whenever they see bullshit on the horizon, whether being pushed by society, somebody close to them, these sort of things. Let's not pretend for 5 seconds that we haven't heard some idiots in the news promote some stupid idea that will only make the current situation in the world that much worse. And it gets even worse if the government gets involved. Now let's start with a big societal problem that not enough people are talking about. And the ones that are the wrong people. 13% of the population commit 50% of the crime.
My fellow Americans, in recent weeks I have begun a conversation with the American people about our fate and our duty to prepare our nation not only to meet the new century, but to live and lead in a world transformed to a degree seldom seen in all of our history. Much of this change is good, but it is not all good, and all of us are affected by it. Therefore, we must reach beyond our fears and our divisions to a new time of great and common purpose. Our challenge is twofold. First, to restore the American dream of opportunity and the American value of responsibility. And second, to bring our country together amid all our diversity into a stronger community so that we can find common ground and move forward as one. More than ever, these two endeavors are inseparable. I am absolutely convinced we cannot restore economic opportunity or solve our social problems unless we find a way to bring the American people together.
I find it interesting how we got the complete opposite of that. In 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson declared an unconditional war on poverty in America. Part of his Great Society agenda, the Economic Opportunity Act, followed in August. It launched programs like Job Corps, Head Start, expanded food stamps, aid to families with dependent children, AFDC, the end goal, end poverty through federal aid. At least that's what it was on paper. But within a year, a government report warned of unintended consequences, especially for the black families. Assistant Secretary of Labor Daniel Patrick Moynihan documented the crisis. In 1965, 1 in 4 black infants were born out of wedlock, 24%, 8 times the white rate. Almost 1/4 of black families were already headed by single mothers. Moynihan warned that by welfare rules, paying benefits only when no man was in the home created perverse incentives. Fathers became optional, families fractured. Before the Great Society, black families had shown remarkable resilience. In 1960, roughly 65 to 78% of black children under the age of 18 lived in two-parent homes, higher stability than many expected after centuries of slavery and Jim Crow. Black poverty had already plummeted from 87% in 1940 to 47% by 1960 through private sector jobs, education, and migration without massive federal welfare. The welfare state changed that. AFDC and later programs subsidized single motherhood. Marriage rates collapsed. By the 1980s, black and out-of-wedlock births had surged to 60%. Today, around 70% of black children are born to unmarried mothers, and only out of about 44% live in two-parent homes. Economists like Thomas Sowell later said a vastly expanded welfare state in the 1960s destroyed the black family, which had survived centuries of slavery and generations of racial oppression, only to be destroyed by the government. Family breakdown correlated directly with a national crime explosion. Violent crime rates began their steep climb right after the War on Poverty launched, peaking in the early 1990s. Fatherless homes became the strongest predictor for delinquency amongst all races. And look who promotes this the most. The same people who promote all of this, who promote the welfare state, who promote single-parent households. Do you know how they look at minorities? And they treat us like pets. Studies consistently show boys raised without fathers go so far as to likely join gangs, drop out, and commit violent crimes. And this is what you need to expect when they remove the protector from the home. So look at the data. Pre-1960s, the data was real. Post-welfare, the black poverty decline slowed, while family disintegration accelerated and crime followed. You cannot remove the father and expect strong communities. Something needs to fill the void. And when father is gone, what do you expect to do that? The media. During the crime waves of the 1990s, we had gangster rap. During the 2010s, you had the drug-fueled mumble rappers. Something will always fill the void. And if fathers aren't there to impart values, what do you think is left? Always a caricature of masculinity. When a good father isn't there, they will look to whatever they see as a symbol of success. And when those symbols of success are absolute garbage, what do you expect for society? And even though this is hyper-exacerbated amongst the black community, it also affects the white ones. Some people actually think this was intentional. Intentional or accidental, one thing is clear. The welfare state penalized marriage, and in the process destroyed the family. This was done systematically. The same people who brought this to you, they're the same people who are always demonizing masculinity. They're the ones who claim everything is racist. They're the ones who get incredibly mad when I tell them, no, I won't do what you tell me to. Because they tell me I should do things based on the color of my skin. They are the ones that ruin the economy. They are the ones breaking apart families. Not long ago, I interviewed a family, Ukrainian immigrants, had their child taken away because they refused to gender transition her. The same people who would go after your job for your political opinions online. The same people committing acts of political violence on an almost daily basis now. The world needs strong men. For now, there are dragons to slay. If I let the white supremacists talk about that statistic, then we'd be talking about pseudoscience and blaming the Jews for everything.
Most comfortable place in O'Hare. Right here.
And so, I return, gathering my thoughts. I thought about the progress I made on this project before getting screwed in that business deal. I thought about how much things have just changed throughout the years. I thought about how I'm going to make this trip worth something. I thought about the ring I bought. I thought about how if you nut in a crazy bitch, she might give you a rock. Yeah, that's why it's attached to a rock. So, now you know that story. It was the girl that cheated on her socialist boyfriend with me. After that whole event, I sat down and thought about everything. Normally what happens is a guy winds up losing his girlfriend because he has no goals, he has no ambitions, he's not doing much with his life. That wasn't the case here. This case was more in line with I wasted time on somebody who I knew wasn't going to stick around. Yeah, I really did care about her. She made me laugh. But in the time I spent with her, I could have done many other things. I could have rebuilt my coaching contacts. I could have built a name for myself. The vast majority of the struggles I have had throughout my life, I brought them upon myself. Usually because I was paying attention to the wrong things. Oftentimes it's pussy. I literally spent 13 years in the pickup community and never monetized it until I wrote that book. I asked a couple friends about it. Ironically, it was the guy who had his life leased together who told me exactly what my problem was. My problem was I was acting like a little boy, easily distracted from what truly mattered. Because pussy. And so, I have to own up to that. My own mistakes. And of course, there have been a few nights where I played video games instead of doing what I really needed to do. I've used a lot of time. Terribly. Jack Donovan has a famous saying, and that saying is, start the world. The most beautiful works of art and the greatest cultures were not created by saying no to something. They were created by saying yes to something. No is about stopping something. Yes is about starting something. It's about creating something. It's about a positive vision for something. And so that's the name of one of his chapters in his book, The Way of Men. Great book. You should read it, by the way. And so, it became a motto. Start the world. No matter what's going on, focus on doing whatever you can to make the world what you want it to be. But there's always self-work to do. That's why I always ask everyone, is like, what part of this is your fault whenever they say that they've got issues in their lives? And so I focused on things, what I needed for the future. In primal hunter-gatherer societies around the world, becoming a man wasn't automatic. It required a powerful ritual, a deliberate passage from boyhood to manhood. These initiation rites were essential for survival. And so, boys were pulled from their mothers in the world of women. And then the liminal phase, the threshold of fire. They faced ordeals, fasting in the wilderness, enduring pain like a bullet and stings to the skin, cutting in solo vision quests. These trials broke the childhood dependencies and built unbreakable courage, discipline, and self-reliance. But most importantly, it let these newly anointed men know what the clan expected of them. From that, rites to marry, hunt with the warriors, and sit in the council. And these rituals ensured the tribe's survival in harsh conditions. They prevented aimless adolescents and forged responsible men who sustained the group physically, socially, and spiritually. And these weren't optional. They were the forge that turned boys into men, and the people that their clans needed. And so I developed a ritual for myself. And so, I thought things over. My past that weighed me down, my sex addiction and alcoholism, my constant getting distracted from what truly matters. We all say we want certain things, but are we willing to work for them? Are we willing to make the proper sacrifices for them? Are we willing to take that which weighs us down and cast it aside? And there's a reason why it was a rock and a ring. The rock was given to me by an ex that I adored. The ring was my willingness to spend time on something that was not good for me. I'd watched friends die and rot because they made that same mistake. Focusing on things that truly did not matter. Wishing for a world that they will never have. Because they refuse to start their worlds. All I see these days are people bitching online about one thing or another and doing absolutely nothing to fix the problems that they are complaining about. They will discuss the problems, but they will take no action to fix them. Information may spread, but everything stays the same. I refuse to be a passive passenger. Take one moment and look at who's driving this train off the rails. I know you already thought of some politician or some group of people. I want you to think about that and realize it's been going downhill since before them. They just added to the fire. The world requires change. And change begins with the self. And so to start my world, I cast off that which bound me. I need to work on my technique.
Somebody stuck their hand in my pocket for my wallet. I grabbed my wallet, I started fighting back with him. He was behind me, he went over the rock, and another put a pistol on my face. The wife started screaming at him.
refuse to be a passive passenger anymore. I'm not calling for a restoration of the old order. That world is dead. I am, however, calling for a new order, a revolution, so that we can take our rightful place in the world once again. But that begins with us and our efforts.